Hey, welcome to Side by Each. Today we're going to swap these new tires here onto these Beadlocks for this Maverick Sport behind us. But these same basic procedures will work for any kind of vehicle you're working on pretty much. This is just the way that I do things, but you'll always want to refer to your manufacturer's specific instructions before you do this job. That's a disclaimer I just did there. So anyways, let's go ahead and get this started immediately. So the first thing we're going to do here is remove the valve stem or valve core. We have a valve core remover here. You can pick one of these up for a couple dollars at pretty much any store. Take the valve cap off. Unscrew the stem. And let all the air evacuate out. So next we're going to break the bead on the tire here. If you are planning on doing this job, I recommend going to Harbor Freight or maybe Princess Auto and picking up a manual tire changer. And purchasing that piece of equipment is pretty much going to pay for itself by avoiding even one trip to a tire shop. So since this is a backyard beadlock swap here, we're going to use this Kubota tractor and the stabilizer and just mash the tire down and break the bead free. These beadlock rings on these stock Can-Am rims are not too thick and they're not too beefy, so to avoid warping the beadlock ring, I'm not going to remove the bolts all the way. I'm just going to kind of back them off a little bit to begin with. Now that I have them all cracked loose, I'll just kind of go around the rim and remove them a little bit at a time, just like I said, to avoid warping this thin beadlock ring here. So now that we have our ring off, I'll just slip the tire over here. And you don't need any special equipment for this part. You can pull the tire out by hand, or the rim out by hand, sorry. So as you can see here, some mud and water will make its way behind the beadlock ring. So our next step will be to clean this all up and make sure our mounting surfaces for the tire are perfectly spotless so they seal well. So much like this Kubota tractor here is not the best tool to break the beads free on your tires, I'm not the best person to be doing the cleaning, so is what you're usually going to want to do in a perfect world is get a female to do that. It doesn't really matter who they are. It could be your wife, it could be your mother. But keep in mind, it is 2022, and a lot of people out there are having a harder and harder time identifying a woman. Even some people from prestigious schools such as Harvard have a difficult time identifying a woman.
Can you provide a definition for the word woman?
Can I provide a definition? No,
Yeah.
I can't.
You can't?
Not in this context.
So
I'm not a biologist.
Now, I do have to admit, I'm no biologist, but if anyone does have any problems identifying women, go ahead and hit me up in the comments below. I'm happy to help out, and I got your back. So next, we're just going to put a bit of anti-seize on the ends of the threads here where they're going to engage the rim. Okay, so our tire here is ready to go back on our rim. Just to mention, these little dots you'll see on some tires is supposed to line up with the valve stem on the rim. I'm not sure how much difference that makes, if at all, but we'll put this end down. And a couple of things to mention before we go on. Make sure your valve stem's in place if you're going to replace it, or if you have brand new rims, make sure you've installed it first. And another thing to look out for is if you have directional tires, make sure you have it oriented so it's going to spin in the direction that you want it to. So to get the tire in the rim, we'll just shove it through by hand here. Sometimes a little bit of soapy water will help make it slide in a little bit easier.
Got it! Jam it! Up there! Get in there, you bitch! Get in there, you bitch!
And just like that easy. So next we're going to take a 5-gallon pail here. Take this tire and rim, Set it on the pail. Like I said, not sure how much difference it makes, but we'll line that dot up with the valve stem right here. Okay, so we got our tire and rim sitting up on the 5-gallon pail here. The tire is nice and centered on the rim. We can see we have a nice even space around between the bead and the rim right here. So we're ready to put our beadlock ring on. Set that on, kind of line the holes up. We're going to take our bolts, start them, just enough by hand, just so it's squeezing the rubber slightly. We'll kind of go in a crosshatch pattern here. Okay, so now we have all these started just hand tight here, squeezing down on the rubber bead slightly. I'm not going to tighten these down in the exact pattern as the manual states, but I'll flash that up on the screen and you can look at it and pause it if you like. But one trick I like to do, just to make it easier and so you can keep track, I like to put 4 pieces of tape at 12, 3, 6, and 9 o'clock. This right here is my 12 o'clock. Just stick those tapes, those 4 corners like I mentioned. Then we'll kind of start going in a somewhat of a crosshatch pattern here. So I'm just going to draw these down just slightly, not very much at all. So use a hand tool if you're not comfortable with the power tool here. I'm going to go 12, 6, 3, 9, and then I'm going to go 1 bolt past my piece of tape, 1 bolt past the piece of tape. Same here, same here. Then 2 bolts past the piece of tape. Three bolts past. So now I'm going to get the torque wrench. The torque spec for these is 18 foot-pounds. So I'm going to do this in 3 stages. So my first stage, I'm going to go up to about 6 or 8 foot-pounds or so. I'm going to start at 12 o'clock here, 6 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and 9 o'clock. Then, just like before, I'm going to go 1 bolt past my 12 o'clock. One bolt past 3 o'clock. And I'm going to continue the same pattern. 2 bolts past my tape mark. Three bolts past my tape marks. Next, I'm going to go around a couple times until everything's torqued to the 6 or 8 foot-pounds I have the torque wrench set at. So that's pretty good. Now I'm going to go up to about 12 foot-pounds next. And I'm going to repeat the same pattern of 12, 6, 3, 9, and then 1 bolt past my piece of tape and so on. And now I'm going to go up to my final torque of 18 foot-pounds. Same pattern once again. And then 1 final check all the way around the rim. And maybe 1 more time just to be double sure that everything's torqued to a nice even 18 foot-pounds all the way around. Now these will have to be retorqued. You'll see different recommendations from different manufacturers, everything from after 100 miles, or some people say torque it every 50 miles for the first 200 miles, but make sure you check these again. And something I do, when I do recheck these and retorque them, I don't go all the way up to 18 foot-pounds and keep stretching and stretching the bolts. So I might set my torque wrench up to like 16 foot-pounds when I check it. So, but the main thing is, after you go out for your first couple rides, retorque these. And you'll want to periodically check them. So I know once a month or something like that, just make sure that all these bolts are torqued to spec here. Now we can go ahead and remove all this tape here. We don't need that anymore, but That is a pretty good tip, just to help you keep track of where you are going around the clock kind of thing. So that helps out quite a bit. Now we can go ahead and replace our valve core here. Right, so now we're ready to air up the tire here. One word of caution, you will see marked somewhere on the sidewall the maximum bead seating pressure on a tire. This one's 36 PSI, so you do not want to exceed that while you're seating the bead here. You do have a risk of a blowout, and that's pretty deadly. I have seen guys do this too without any lube, and forcing things in dry, not good. So we'll take our soapy water here. We're gonna just lube the bead up here to make it easier to seat. Starting to go. You'll get a pretty good pop sound usually when it finally seats. Just about to go here. There we go. And after this, just set it to your desired PSI. If you have trouble getting this to seat, there's some tricks you can do. You can kind of squeeze the tire down. You could ratchet strap it and kind of mush it down so that the bead comes out towards the rim here. And something else that helps if you're having problems is try and do this without the valve stem installed. That way you get a lot more volume of air and a lot quicker and a better chance of seating the bead. But like I said, these tires here are not too much of a problem usually. Next we'll check for leaks. We'll just take our soapy water once again, spray the valve stem, spray around the beadlock ring here, and yeah, just leave it for a minute and see if there's any bubbles coming out. If there is a leak, it's pretty obvious pretty quick, probably within even 10-15 seconds you'll see stuff starting to bubble up. So I'd say this one looks good already, and we'll flip it around, do the other side. Same thing, soapy water between the bead and the rim. Just kind of monitor it here for a minute or so. And I'd say that's a successful install. No leaks. So I have about 25 PSI in this tire here right now. I won't run it anywhere near that pressure, but I will leave it like that overnight just to make sure everything seats nicely, and we're good to go. So that about concludes our video here of our installation of our new tires on our Beadlock wheels. And as you can see, it's a fairly simple job that pretty much anyone can do at home with minimal equipment. And like I mentioned earlier on in the video, even if you have to purchase a couple items like a manual tire changer or maybe even a torque wrench, those things will pay for themselves pretty quickly by avoiding one or maybe even 2 trips to a tire shop. And also you have the confidence to know that everything is done properly. A lot of tire shops kind of butcher things and let's throw the ring on and impact everything in and not torque it. And within a week or two, you're leaking air out of your beadlock here. So anyways, thanks a lot for watching. I hope this helped, and safe riding.